Live from New York, I'm with the most famous dentist from Lisbon, Portugal, maybe way beyond that. I'm with Miguel Stanley, Dr. Miguel Stanley, born in South Africa, and at the age of 10, sailed a year-long sailing. Your dad is Portuguese.
Yes.
Your mother's British.
British, yes.
And but anyway, long story short, not only is he a handsome devil, he actually started a cosmetic, would you call it a
Makeover TV show.
A makeover TV show in 2004?
2005, yeah, end of 2004, 2005, we did the first show, and then we filmed 7 seasons.
Yeah, so you are absolutely the most famous cosmetic dentist in your area, and you have a rock star status practice. I mean, you do. I mean, you're a legend over there. So where did you get the idea of a?
Well,
what'd you call it? A
TV makeover show.
A TV makeover. Where did you get that idea?
Well,
and how did you pull that off?
It's a great story.
And could you have done it if you would have been born short, fat, and bald like me? Did it really help to be hot?
If with a character like yours, you can push through concrete, man. I think it's all about character. I mean, of course, in life, some people can rise to an occasion despite any odds, and others shy away. My motto in life is no obstacles, only objectives. So if I can see it in my head, I can make it happen. And
I can see myself as a Chippendale dancer.
See?
I can see it.
Yeah.
in a blind nursing home. A nursing home for only blind women. But so
the story started. The story started. I mean, I kind of fell into dentistry. I studied in Lisbon, and in my 4th or 5th year as a dental student, Ronald Goldstein came to town.
Ron Goldstein
came to town from Atlanta, and still today we exchange emails, and he's probably the first person that inspired me to ever want to lecture and even pursue a career in dentistry. I must have been 22 years old.
And you were already in dental school?
Yes.
And he came to town to lecture?
Yes, he came to town. He came to my university to lecture, and I remember I was the only person that had the guts to go up and ask him a question. And of course, English is my main language. A lot of people said, but how come you speak English? I said, well, how come you speak English? Just because I was born somewhere doesn't mean I have to come from there. So I consider myself, and my English is my mother tongue. So I spoke to him, and we had a chat, and he was super cool. And I started saving up my pocket money and going to lectures abroad. So when other guys were where they were thinking of where to go spend their summer holidays or their Easter holidays or their spring break, I was like, well, where's the next lecture? And I started going to conferences even as a kid, even before I graduated, to get that information in my head. And Malcolm Gladwell, he when he talks in Outliers about why some people stick out more, well, one of them is hard work and being in the situation. So I put myself in the situation. Anyway, already graduated 2004, I went to the dental extravaganza from Dentsply in Las Vegas. And that was a big show. We had Dr. Phil on stage, pumping everybody up, finishing with, born in the USA, and everybody was screaming. It was the first motivational speech I'd ever heard. It was Dr. Phil on stage in Las Vegas. This is 11 years ago. And I'd never seen anything like that. Coming from a more conservative European background in terms of dentistry, the dental conventions in Europe were very boring. Publicity in Portugal was forbidden. It still is today. Of course, the laws at the time and still that prevail today were written before the invention of social media. And of course, social media just changed everything. So the concept of promoting yourself was frowned upon back in 2004. And I'd graduated, and I went to go work 2 years in the south in Portugal, and doing very terrible practices, very poor practices. But there was one good practice that I worked at with a South African dentist and a German dentist, and they taught me, a lot about just responsible dentistry. And again, I saved my money, and in my weekends, I went to Spain at Ceosa Institute, where I studied with Mariano Sanz, who's one of the world's greatest perio guys, and Bertel Freeberg from the Bronnemark. I studied at the Bronnemark Institute. It took me about a year to get my degree as a postgraduate degree in implantology. So at the time, I was very focused on. I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I went to this dental extravaganza, and I bumped into Bill Dorfman, and I was dude, what has this done to you? You know, and he says, you know, he was, you know, Bill Dorfman, and he did a lot for dentistry. I think in America, he made it mainstream, and I know he gets a lot of shit for that. But the truth is that he put dentistry in the mouths of, literally in the ears and the minds of millions of Americans, and criticize or don't criticize. As a result of what he did on TV, people went to the dentist more, and the industry grew more. It's just that simple.
Absolutely.
So kudos to you, Bill Dorfman, wherever you are. And anyway, I met the plastic surgeon as well, and I was just, I've got to do this TV show. So I said, you know, I had a background in TV, because a lot of people don't know this, but I was a model, but that's how I paid my way through university. I was with Elites Models, which was like a very famous agency, and I did over 65 TV commercials through a 10-year span. And I had a lot of experience acting and being in front of the TV, so with, you know, makeup and sound and light and directing. So I never thought that would amount to anything, but I had that decade experience of television in the back of my head, and plus I knew a lot of people in the industry. So it doesn't just happen by chance. You don't just wake up and say, I'm going to do this. I had the experience. But anyway, so I found out that ABC was the network that had the rights to Extreme Makeover. It was a brand.
Is that what Bill Dorfman's in, Extreme Makeover?
Extreme Makeover.
Okay.
And now an Extreme Makeover Body Edition, face, nose, plastic surgeon, morphed into Extreme Makeover Home Edition with Tyler, right? So most people don't know that, but that was a spin-off of the Extreme Makeover Body Edition. So Bill Dorfman and a team of plastic surgeons, they were the first people that pioneered the concept, and then there were a lot of spin-offs with the Swan and so on and so forth. And these programs, they focused a lot on beauty and you know, being American. They were very US centric, and so my biggest thing here was, I wanted to have a control, because I knew we'd had to adapt it specifically to the European market and more specifically to the Portuguese market. Got in touch with ABC, and I said, who owns the rights in Europe? And there's a Dutch company called Endemol, and they make a lot of TV shows like Big Brother. They did that. Do you get Big Brother in America?
I'm not sure.
Anyway, so they make these huge TV shows. And I realized that I was going into difficult territory with a lot of people involved, so I just said to hell with it, and I wrote my own concept. I rewrote the whole concept. I said, you know what? It can't just be about the makeover. We need to engage with the doctors. So it has to be a studio show. So people are going to want to ask doctors the questions, you know, like, why did you do that? How did you do that? Because we were going to show stuff that people hadn't seen before. And, you know, this is 11 years ago, where the whole cosmetic world and cosmetic dentistry still wasn't mainstream. And it still isn't today. And I mean, this is 11 years ago. So I pitched it to a network, and the guy said, what do you want to make this happen? He says, you know, I trust you. I know you can do this. And he was asking, like, how much did I want? And I said, I don't want any money. And he's like, what? I said, I don't want any money. I just want absolute power, absolute control. Nobody gets in my show. Nobody gets out of my show. No publicity, no nothing that I don't sanction. Why? Because I wanted to make sure that it would be ethical and responsible, and few people know this, but all of my TV shows, I've been the absolute executive producer with absolute executive powers. And that's the reason why we've never been sued, we've never had any problems, we've never had any complaints. And because, you know, ethics had to be the foundation of this, because these are human beings that we're working on. And the second thing that we did was we removed our egos from the equation. So I invited my competition to be part of the first show. I got 6-7 doctors. It had never been done before. I knew that my license was probably on the line, because I didn't know how the bar of dentists, you know, our ADA, let's say, would deal with this. And I was hoping they would see it as information and not publicity. And I was very careful to hide the names of the clinics and stuff like that. And we did the first show, and it just exploded. It was just, the response was incredible, because I wasn't doing fillings. I was doing full-on smile designed, orientated, full mouth rehabilitation. We did 23 cases a show. Plastic surgeons,
23 cases a show or a season?
Sorry, a season.
That's 23 cases.
2 cases a show, 13 episodes. We filmed it over 6 months to allow for all the guided bone regeneration and all of that stuff. So, you know, for the first time 11 years ago, I was showing, because I used the same techniques today as I did 12, 13, 14, 15 years ago. I'm just faster at it. But, and responsible dentistry, I mean, today I get a lot of stick still today from colleagues in Portugal because...
a lot of what?
A lot of... I don't know. I get a lot of stick, a lot of criticism.
Okay, stick means criticism?
No, I would say it was a difficult pill for a lot of my colleagues to swallow because it did give me a huge boost. I would even say an unfair boost. But I do know from the market that it grew about 35% as a result of my TV show because...
The cosmetic industry or dentistry in
the
general?
whole industry. People were doing more boob jobs and more liposuction, more everything as a result. But in dentistry in particular, the sales of implants went up 35%.
Well, it's an error to think in fear and scarcity, and high self-esteem people like you and me think in hope, growth, and abundancy. And a rising tide lifts all ships. So it's sad when people don't understand that, people like you and Bill Dorfman are helping us all. Yeah.
No, and it's, I think in any war there always has to be a flag and something for people to follow. And I know that I have a lot of people who support me in this. And there's a German word called Schadenfreude, which is to be happy for somebody else's misery. And of course, in any field, people at the top, there's always somebody trying to pull you down because they say, well, I could do that, I could do that, but the truth is you didn't. So there's been a lot of trials of people trying to do this. I personally think a decade later that the formula is kind of burnt out. I don't think I'd do another show today. I mean, I've kind of stopped doing them, just because I think people have understood already. I mean, 10 years ago, it was innovative to show what medicine could do to help you with your life. And my more recent show, Dr. White, which we filmed over 2 years in 2012, 2013, and I must say, I filmed these in a functioning practice where we were seeing over, I had about 12, 13 dentists on my team. I have a very large practice. Only at the time we had 8, 9 dental units, so not that many. But we were seeing paying customers every day and filming a TV show simultaneously. So the logistics behind that was quite tiresome, let's say. But we pulled it off. But the last seasons of Dr. White were more about happiness and not about beauty. Because I thought that if you do a makeover show that focuses on beauty, you're ostracizing about 95% of the population that don't think of themselves as beautiful. But if you focus on happiness, that includes everyone. And that's what we focused on, how dentistry can help you be happier. And that is the title of my lecture, which is No Half Smiles and how dentistry can help you live a happier and more successful life.
Okay, well, let's go in there. How can dentistry make the patient live a happy, healthier life?
Well, I will add to that. How can ethical and morally responsible dentistry help people live a happier and healthier life? As I said in my lecture, I gave a brief lecture yesterday, and I was saying that a dentist's main role is in concern of his patient's happiness. So what I'm trying to say is that
a dentist's main role is what?
A dentist's main role isn't doing fillings or cavities, it's to actually ensure his patient's happiness. And that means you need to treat your patient the same way you would yourself. And I think it's an aggressive market, it's an aggressive industry. I've lectured in over 29 countries. I speak 4 languages, so I really can get in there and understand.
What are your 4 languages? English, Spanish,
French, and Portuguese.
French and Portuguese.
So
3 Romance languages.
That's Brazil. Brazil has got 280 million people living in it.
So if you speak Portuguese, French, and Italian, is that what you said?
I don't speak Italian. No, it's Spanish, Portuguese, English, and French.
But Spanish, Portuguese, and French are 3 Romance languages, so that'd be very close to Italian and Romanian?
Yeah, well, Italian, I can understand Italian, but I wouldn't venture to speak in it.
But those 5 languages, and Romanian?
Romanian, no. Romanian is Old Latin. It's more associated to Latin, but it's completely different to French, Spanish, and Portuguese.
Okay.
But this is to say that I've lectured in these countries, and I can see that around the world, there's a lot of us that seem to look at dentistry as a business. And it's legitimate to look at it as a business. But what's not legitimate is to try and make money out of somebody's ignorance and somebody's misfortune, somebody that's hostage to pain or a certain dental condition. And just because you have the tools to make money out of it doesn't mean you should. So I'm a bit of a Robin Hood of dentistry, because I really do, people that can afford dentistry, I will, sell them the Bentley and charge for it. And people that can't, I'll help them out if they're nice.
That's well said. Well said.
We're doctors. There's that thing in a Hangover where the guy says, "Oh, let me take a look at that X-ray. I'm actually a doctor." He says, "No, you said that last night. In fact, you're just a dentist. Just a dentist." Well, as you also saw in my lecture, we did a study proving that dentistry, in fact, has a much stronger impact in people's lives in terms of, when I say, I'm not just talking about a filling, I'm talking about a brand new smile, correct occlusion, proper function, healthy gums, and depending on your initial condition, that could involve $50,000, $60,000 of work. But if you have just the need, I don't know, for a root scale and planing, you can spend $100 and reach there. So it always depends on where you're coming from. But if a person recuperates their full smile, facially integrated, good looking set of teeth, in occlusion, healthy chewing function, good phonetics, it actually brings absolute joy to their lives.
I want to everybody that's watching this right now, most all of them have never gone to another country, let alone seen another dental office in another country. You've lectured in, would you say 29 countries? So 29 countries. What is dentistry like?
Including Iran.
What is the similar things in 29 countries, and what are very different things?
Well, it's a great question. First of all, one of the cool things about dentistry is that we all speak the same language. And people don't think about that. I'm on the board of directors of a association called SENAME, South European, North African, Middle Eastern Modern Dentistry and Implant Society. It's a mouthful, but it's every single country around the Mediterranean. And we have an honorary American board member, Dr. Jack Krauser, who's also here today.
Yes,
Tampa. From Tampa. Well, he's originally from New York, but he lives in Tampa. A great dentist and a good friend. And we're actually organizing an event in September, the 17th, 18th, and 19th of September in Lisbon, Portugal. You can find out more information at www.lisbonsename2015.com. I'm sure you can help me out with that. But the cool thing about this is that we actually have 17 board members. We have a Palestinian and an Israeli on the board of directors. And one of the reasons why I wanted to be part of this is because dentistry should never be political. Dentistry is about dentistry. And that's the common denominator, is that it's biological, it's functional, it's aesthetic, and everybody can do the same thing. So the tools to achieve your goals are the same things. A dentist in Lebanon and Beirut has exactly the same desires as a dentist in Michigan, as a dentist in Moscow, as a dentist in Australia, as a dentist in Sudan. I just came from a conference from the IADS, and for all the dental students out there, it's the International Association of Dental Students. There's currently 200,000 dentists a year, new dentists a year, joining the growing 2 million strong market. Big shout out to all the new dentists, and don't be scared because the future's coming, and I think you guys are the future. But I met a bunch of young female dentists from Sudan. And the questions are the same, the hopes are the same, the dreams are the same. And that's, for me, one of the beauties why I like to travel around the world and teach, is because it makes me understand that we're all human. And, there's no big bogeyman out there. And, I come to New York City and I go to Iran and I feel exactly the same comfort, because a dental booth around the world is exactly the same.
That's fantastic. So in the United States, next month, 5,000 kids are going to graduate from dental school. 5,000.
5,000.
What advice would you? How can they go from walking out of school to someday being a great dentist like you? What should their? How could you help them climb that stairway? What are some easy?
I would say,
steps?
I have a young assistant. Her name is Filipa, Dr. Filipa Braga. She joined me when she was 23, fresh out of university, and the first 6 months, we didn't pay her. We basically said, listen, you've got to earn it. So no matter if you graduate your first year of dentistry, don't expect to make money for the first year. And I see a lot of dental students coming out and like, oh, I want to be a prosthodontist, I want to be a periodontist, I want to be an orthodontist. You don't know what you want to be at 23 or 24 when you're just out of dental school. You don't know. Go on a journey, and that journey is go visit practices, work for free, clean the floor, brush the toilets, do whatever you can. Find out somebody in your community that you respect and that runs ethical and morally responsible dentistry. Somebody that's got a good heart and somebody that in the future could pay well. I mean, I pushed my first mentor 2 years. I went every weekend with a bottle of wine, knocked on his door, and I said, I will clean the floor, I will wash your car, I will do whatever it takes, but give me 2 years later, I got the phone call. I said, you don't. He said, you're the only guy that was that persistent. And I got his clinic. And that's how I started, you know. So I think be persistent, be courageous, just take time. Just take time, because you don't even at that age you don't even know what you want to do. I mean, look at your example, Howard. You know, I mean, I heard your brilliant lecture yesterday, and I mean, it's and if you've never heard Howard Farran speak, I strongly urge you to find out where he's speaking next, because it truly is inspirational, and it's funny, it's entertaining, it's engaging. But your own story tells that, you know, you never really know what's coming around the bend, and you were smart enough to study demographics. So if you need the money, go where the demographics suggest that you're going to make more money. If you don't, and if you're lucky enough to come from a family that can afford it, go find somebody near your house that's just the best dentist in your community, and excuse my language, bust your ass for 2 years for free. And that would probably be my suggestion.
So one of the differences between the United States and a lot of other countries is in the United States there's 9 specialties, and when you go to school, the specialties don't like you really learning their specialty. So a lot of the general dentists,
it's territorial.
It's very territorial because of money. And so a lot of these people listening to you in America, 9 out of 10 of these dentists listening to you, watching you right now, have never placed an implant in their life. Well, when did you place your first implant, and how can you go from talking to these people where 9 out of 10 have never placed an implant to one day they're going to place an implant?
Well, I think it has to do with fear and a bit of ignorance, because it is my understanding that a GP, a person with a basic DDS license, is legally entitled to place a dental implant in the USA. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. You don't have to be a specialist in perio or surgery to place an implant. So that means with 6 years of basic training as a DDS, you come out of school. How old are you?
I was 24 when I got out.
24. Well, like I say, Dr. Felipa Braga, she's 24. She places implants and gets paid for it in my clinic at 24. I told her how to do it. I gave her the guidelines. Now with, of course, guided surgery, the risk factor goes down. But, I spent a year living in LA in 2013. And I lectured a bit in New Jersey, and to a lot of general practitioners that wanted to cross over into placing dental implants, because of course, as we saw in Dr. Roger Levin's lecture, that's where the gold is. So I just think that it's the implant dentistry. There's not a bogeyman. I mean, it's sometimes easier than endodontics, and nobody comes out fearing endodontics. So I would just say embrace it. Don't think of it as anything different, and just go for it. And the thing is that a dentist in Portugal, or a dentist in Spain, or a dentist in Italy, the second they come out of university, they're free to operate, anything. So I can safely say 98% of the 10,000 dentists in Portugal place dental implants.
That is amazing. And we just heard Dr. Park say in Korea, 15,000 out of 20,000 Korean dentists
place implants. And Korea is, I don't know if people know this, it's the country in the world that has the highest percentage of dental implants per capita in the world. It's followed by, I believe, Israel, and then followed by Turkey.
So let's get specific. So first of all, this person's never placed one implant. How much? First of all, what would be? Would you say in Lisbon is the same as America? Where in America, 95% of crowns are made one at a time. 95% of implants are placed one at a time. Is that true?
Well, look,
Portugal too?
I think that if you don't base your practice around your patient, you will fail. What I'm trying to say here is if you do your treatment plans around your own limitations, you will fail. You have to be incredibly focused on customer care. Why would your patient, if he's missing 7 teeth, want to come in 7 times? Do a quote in the beginning. Say you need 7 implants. It's going to cost this much. Do all 7 in one go, and I'll throw in one for free. And the time it takes you, because that the patient has one anesthetic session, one antibiotic session, and one of my my surgery professors said a little wound heals as fast as a big wound. So get them all done at the same time. And I just think that the big obstacle needs to be your if you're starting out, only accept cases that have a lot of bone and a thick biotype, meaning thick gum, lots of bone. Don't take any risks. Never take risks with other people's lives. That's crazy. It's irresponsible. The second any of you dentists out there choose to go over your moral compass and choose to make money as opposed to doing good dentistry, that's the day you got to change your job. Okay, go do what your hobby is, And so if you're beginning out, do easy cases. If you've got a case that, for example, has 3 easy implants and 2 difficult implants, do the 3 easy ones in one go and send the 2 difficult ones to somebody who's more experienced.
So are you doing in my lifetime when I got out of school, it was all 2D X-ray, and now it's all 3D X-ray. What 3D X-ray system are you using? Do you like?
We have the I'm not paid to say this, but we have the Carestream 9500D from Kodak. I think Kodak make it. And
they sold it to Carestream.
Yes,
Kodak, yeah.
I bought it when it was still Kodak.
Right, same way.
I paid at the time $300,000 for it, and it was a huge investment. But at the time, as always, I prefer to have my Ferrari inside my clinic than in the garage.
That's because the difference between men and boys are the price of their toys. And
I don't have a Ferrari though.
So do you? So if you placed, talk about surgical guides. Do you do a lot of surgical guides?
Well, this is exciting because I'm now working with Dr. Christian Coachman. Have you heard of Dr. Christian Coachman? So he's responsible for creating digital smile design concept, and they do a really cool world tour. And a lot of people think that the DSD system is just to design, your smile, and it's a 2D concept. But now, with the help of a laboratory in Madrid, which is called 3D Explorer Lab, and I can say it's probably the only one in the world like it. It's huge. They are now converting the 2D into 3D. A lot of other companies are doing this, but in my understanding, it's the only one that's fully based on facially integrated digital smile designing into the surgery. So basically, there's a lot of systems that are doing great work, but we're now working with Dr. Christian, his brother Francis, Dr. Felipe Braga from my team, and
where are they out of?
Christian and Francis are from Brazil. Francis now is living in Spain, in Madrid, and Dr. Felipe is Portuguese, and I'm Portuguese based.
So they São Paulo or Rio or?
São Paulo. But he basically lectures 200 days a year. He fills, huge concert halls with this. He's a brilliant guy, and we're very happy to be working on this concept with them. And what I would just like to say is that, I've been doing freehand implant dentistry for 17 years now, and a lot of people still today, if I'm placing 8 implants, you'll find it strange that I haven't used the guide because they're very parallel, and I was just born with that third eye in my head. Some people just are born with a natural talent to do certain things. I have that third eye in my head, and I know how to do it. But it's not a skill. It's something that I was born with.
But there is some technical to it, like a fourth finger rest. So what I'm asking every lab tech will tell you if they get an arch that every tooth is prepped, they can tell if the dentist was right-handed sitting on the right or left-handed. So is this patient of yours, when you're doing a full arch, are you standing or sitting?
No, I always sit down and I
You
move.
always sit down.
I always sit down and I move a lot. So I have my patient's head at 12 o'clock, and I horizontal, and I just. They know, my team know they got to get out of the way because I'm always running around. So I'm rolling around.
And you surgically place implants sitting?
I surgically place implants sitting.
Wow, I've never done that.
My back is. I'm a tall guy. I'm 6'4", so I got to protect myself. But it's all about ergonomics. And I mean, when I place implants, I have about 5 people in the team in the room.
So do you wear loops when you're placing implants?
Nope.
Because seeing too closely would hurt the
No.
parallel.
What I do is we use, of course, CBCT. We know how much bone we have. We have a pretty good understanding of the bone density. And, you know, I always think of this as, in your brain, you have to have an abort button. Just because you've told your patient you're going to place an implant, just because he's paid for you for the implant, and he's sat down and he's under and he's numb, and you cut him open and you open and oops, abort. If you don't feel comfortable, just shut him back, sew him up. I do that sometimes. I think, I go in all confident that even with the CBCT, that I can go in and do the surgery. So don't be scared of just hitting the abort button. Of course, now to get back to your question on the
a lot of women do that with me on a date. They'll show up at a date, they just say abort, and they turn around and run.
That's funny. No, but now with the CBCT, I mean, it's sorry, with the guided. Look, man, I think that it is great. I think that a lot of the younger generation of dentists will never know how scary it is to go into surgery blind, as I did in the first 8 years of my career. I mean, in the first 8 years, 90% of my implants were placed just with an X-ray and a lot of guts. And you know what that's like. You know what that's like, right?
Yes.
You know, every single surgery, you know, you have that bang in your stomach, you know, and it was terrifying.
When I got my diploma at the International Congress of Implantology and my fellowship in the Institute, I had never even heard of a CBCT.
You know,
I didn't know it was around the corner. I didn't know it was going to come someday.
And I actually, the first time I heard CBCT, I didn't know what it meant. So, because, you know, we were sending our customers to the hospitals, and we were having a decrease in acceptance rates because people thought, well, if I have to go to a hospital, this is very serious. I don't want to go to the hospital and get a CBCT. So they were dropping out of the treatment options. So buying a CBCT, despite the investment, my acceptance rate went through the roof. And I mean, this is interesting information for people to know. And Dr. Gordon Christensen's lecture, he actually mentioned that, you know, it's the acceptance rate does go up when you have it on the premises. But I really think that guided surgery is the way of the future. I'm here at a Megagen event. They have a R2 gate system, and it's genius what's happening.
What system?
It's called the R2 gate. It's
R2 gate.
R2 gate. It's developed by Dr. Jong Kim Chol from Korea, who works with Professor Kwang Bum Park. Basically, they superimpose an intraoral scan with your facial photography and your CBCT and create a virtual arch, you know, as if you would take an impression and send it to the lab, and he'd put it up in the help me out here. What's the articulator? So they create a virtual articulator, and it's a fully guided, where the actual implant, the position of the implant, the abutment is milled in function to the soft tissue and the hard tissue and the bone density. So it selects the size of the implant for you. It pre-prepares the abutment for you. So basically, you send off the information and you get this box, and it's all there. To such an extent, your hairdresser will be able to do 8 implants, 8 customized abutments, and fully loaded 2 arches in about 5 hours in about 5 years' time. It's gonna. I'm gonna predict this. I haven't said this on TV yet, but I think in the future, the whole risk will be removed from the dentist. I think my vision for the future, and I'm saying this first on Howard Farran's podcast.
Fantastic.
All right, so
breaking news.
This is my vision.
Turn up the volume in the car right now.
This is my vision for dentistry in the future. I think and I'm just going to say it because I'm too lazy to create it myself, and I want it. I think in the future, it will be the patients who decide what they want. I think that the dentists, because there are more and more of them coming up, I think that the dentist will be removed from any choice. I think the patient will select their own treatment options because it will be made so user-friendly that they'll go to some center, take a CBCT, some photographs that will be uploaded to the cloud. Some huge team in China will, have a huge site like Alibaba Dental or Amazon Dental. Jeff, what's his name? Jeff Bezos, Amazon Dental. Okay, so if you want me to come and work for you, I'll come and work for you. And the patient will have a screen and say, okay, well, I'm missing 10 teeth. And we'll say, what kind of implant system do you want? How much have you got to spend? What's your budget? What insurance companies do you have? And she'll go, well, okay, well, what's the rating of this implant? Oh, this is a Straumann implant. That's, a very, very good implant. This is a imitation implant manufactured in wherever. And the cost will change and so on and so forth. And the patient will choose the treatment option, A, B, C, so just biology function, or aesthetics. If they include the aesthetics and the function, it becomes more expensive. So for this, you will need 5 fillings, 7 crowns, 4 restorations, 5 implants, 3 abutments, and he buys the products online, swipes his card, he's paying direct to the consumer, to the factory, so there's no middleman cost, which is great for the public, great for the dentist, great for everybody. And then he'll choose a dentist based on proximity, his Yelp and Trust Advisor. And he'll say, okay, well, that dentist looks good. He's got a good success rate. He'll say, I'll go to that one. That dentist will receive a message on his phone saying, click, click, you've just been booked. The surgical guide's in the mail, and so are the pieces and the components. A little drone drops it off at the door. Patient rocks up. Dentist has no stock, no risk. Puts it in the mouth, drills the holes, puts the teeth in. Patient goes home. Dentist receives a little bit less but has no stress. I think that's the future of dentistry.
And how long do you think something like that will take?
I don't know, but I do know that it's going to happen. Just have this. I mean, it's inevitable. I've never heard this in the world. It's first time on Howard Farran. That's Dr. Miguel Stanley's prediction of the future of dentistry.
You heard it here first.
Amazon Dental.
So, what other?
I really would like some money if that happens. For having had the vision.
One of my models is that we use the internet. So no dentist has to practice solo again. The dentist is out there looking. There's implants that go from $500 Noble BioCares to under $100. There's probably 40, 50 systems out there.
There's actually over 2,000 different types of implants.
2,000. So my next question is this
there's
person,
top 40 companies.
Yeah.
But there's about 2,000 types of implants.
Okay, so this dentist all by himself. Is an implant an implant an implant? Are they all the same? Do I need to pay $500 an implant to be a quality dentist? Am I a cheap dentist?
It's a great question. I mean, I was recently in Jordan giving a lecture, and it depends on country to country. It depends on perceived value. So, a lot of dentists don't have your communication skills, don't have your powers of persuasion. Don't have my capacities as well to communicate, and they're a bit lost in the science, and they don't know how to sell the treatment to the dentist. So they hide behind the brand, and they say, well, this is the world's best implant, it's an amazing implant, it's the best one in the world, and they feel safe with the high-end implant. But the truth is that a bad implant in the hands of a good surgeon, as long as it's high-grade titanium and has a good abutment selection, is just as good as a brilliant implant in the hands of a bad surgeon. So I'd say that probably the best formula is doesn't really exist, and also has to do with the volume. If you're placing 1 implant a month, go for something good, because if you're only placing 1 implant a month, you're probably not really good at it, but that implant will be amazing. But if something goes wrong, at least you're using a good brand. I'm well known for only using the best materials and good companies and good products, and I always do that because at the end of the day you're standing on the shoulders of giants, and by saying that, as if something goes wrong, at least it's not by my materials. I'm not using replicas. I never use replicas. I never use imitations. I never use cheap materials. I don't have a franchise or a network of clinics. B, if something goes wrong and my patient decides to sue me, which thankfully has never happened, I at least can say, I'm using nothing but the best. And, there's independent studies that show if it's not the best, it's in the top 3,
So name those brands. Which brands do you
And they're not paying me for that.
I know.
So, no, I'm not going to give anybody free publicity.
Okay.
I think it's just...
And when you use the word publicity, that's, in American, that'd be advertising?
Advertising. Yeah, I just said Kodak. But there's other great companies like
I
Vatek
don't know why you would fear being sued because you speak 4 languages.
No, not sued.
You could just leave Lisbon
Not
and
sued.
go to Brazil.
I'm not saying sued. I just don't want to promote companies for, there's a lot of people are watching this. I can tell you right now, for example, I'm a huge fan of Voco. It's a family-owned, German-based company. It's they make some of the coolest products out there. It's a, I wouldn't say small company, but they make, for example, a product I've been using for over 15 years, which is a Bizacryl. It's called Structure, and I use it to make all my temporary crowns, and I'm so loyal to this product that I will never change. They have great composites. They have great bonding agents. So it's VOCO, Voco, and it's just everybody that works in the company are great people. It's not listed, so doesn't have stock, or it's just privately owned, and I like that. I like that I can talk to somebody who owns the company. I also have huge respect for Megagen. It's my implant system. It's the guy who created it, Professor Cranbourne Park, is just he's a genius. The implant system is a paradigm shift. And once again, I don't have stock in the company, and I'm not, I don't have a contract with them, but it's just an amazing company. I'm a big fan of Durr compressors. They don't break down. It's a German company. Do you know this? Do you have that company here? Yeah. Durr, very good. My chairs are from Anthos. I believe they're Italian. Anthos. And W&H. So I have a piezo surgery system from W&H, and my micromotors for my motor engines for implant placement, W&H. Very good company.
So besides placing implants and doing smile makeovers, what else do you do? Root canals? Do you do porcelain veneers?
I'll explain how our clinic is run. We have a small family that we started creating together. So the first person I hired in 2001 was an oral hygienist, Susana Bonito. She's been with me for 14 years. And, 1 hour root scale and planing with the EMS, ultrasonic, and the ProfiJet, and, the Hugh Freedy. She's just brilliant. I love her to bits. And I say the alpha and omega of all dentistry is dental hygiene. The second person I hired was Dr. Alessandra Curto. She's from Bari, Italy. She's an orthodontist. I love her to bits, Alessandra. Grazie per tutti. She's been, I'd say 70% of her cases are adults. We're one of the top Invisalign providers for over a decade now. She's definitely the top Damon system provider in Portugal as well. And
Damon system.
Damon orthodontics. It's they don't use the rubber elastics. I'm not an orthodontist.
Is it a type of removable?
No. It's a brackets, but it's an American system called Damon. Okay. And it's faster, less pain, and it's just the results are incredible.
Where are they out of?
USA.
But you don't know.
I wouldn't know.
Okay.
DAMON.
Okay.
And then endo. So I've had a specialist endodontist for 10 years, for a decade now. And for the last 8 years, I've had Dr. Carlos Moraes. And he's just a brilliant endodontist. He works with Leica microscopy. We have all the Japanese Morita, apical locators. His biggest tool, besides his skill set and great materials, is time. My endodontist does not work on the clock. So whatever time it takes to get, I found another canal. Whatever time it takes, get it done well. It's the secret of success in endodonty is time. A lot of dentists don't factor that into
What's that saying? The slower you go, the faster you... What is it? The slower you go, the better you get?
And then we have Dr. Inês Miguel.
The slower you go, the faster you go.
Fast you get there.
The slower you go, the faster you get there.
So then we have Dr. Inês Miguel, who I recruited straight out of university. And she's my dentist. She's an amazing dentist. She's a cosmetic dentist. Both Carlos and Inez were trained in Barcelona, at a great university. And last but not least, I have Dr. Susana Gomes, who helps me with all the implantology and restorative side. But more importantly, as I said, I've got this junior team. I've got Dr. Beatriz Mota Jordão and Dr. Felipe Braga, 23 and 24 respectively, who just given the right tools, love and respect, just are incredible. So we're a very tight-knit unit. It's full time in the clinic, so we're always ready to go. And
so you call an operatory a unit.
Yes.
So you have 8 operatory units.
7.
You have 7 units.
For nine doctors, I think.
So 7 units, 9 doctors. What are the hours of operation?
We open at 9 a.m. We close at 7 p.m. and we don't work Saturdays or Sundays.
So 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. So 5 10-hour days. 9 doctors can work in 7.
Yes, because doctors work in pairs sometimes. So, like for example, if I'm doing a full mouth rehabilitation, I'm doing the implant placement, and then Inez will be sitting next to me doing the cosmetic. She'll be doing the smile design, temporaries. So we work as a team.
How many auxiliary staff? How many non-dentist staff?
Everybody in the I'd say about 30.
Including the doctors?
Including the doctors.
So 7
32.
chairs, 30 people, 9 doctors.
We're into service.
And is that downtown Lisbon?
No, because the end cost of the treatment is indexed to your rent. And we have 1,200 square meters. It's a big clinic. So if I was in the center of town in a good area because you think that brings you prestige, it's wrong. Your CV and your ethics and your quality of your dentistry brings you prestige. Location doesn't bring you prestige. It's stupid. It just adds to the cost of the treatment. So we're actually out of town. We're about 10 minutes out of the center of town. So we have a lower rent. And I tell my patients, I say, listen, man, my rent's cheaper here, but my materials are the best. We're going to take as long as it takes to get you the good treatment. We're still probably the most expensive practice in town. But if I was in the center in a VIP, whatever, I would have to be even more expensive. I mean, you have to think about, economy.
Now, are your prices in euros?
Yes, sir.
Euros. Did you know Lisbon was the first town I've ever been to?
Yeah, you went to Fatima.
I gotta share the story.
Yeah, go.
Because whenever I hear...
We had dinner last night, so I heard the story.
Whenever I hear Lisbon, Portugal, it's romantic. So I grew up Catholic. My 2 oldest sisters, when they left high school, they went straight into the Catholic nunnery. And the Catholic Church in Kansas, they had this recruitment program where they rented a 747. They filled it up with like 454 seats, that thing, of Catholic boys. And they would fly you to Fatima to spend 2 weeks.
Fatima is a very holy place where supposedly 3 shepherd children, 2 boys and a girl, when they were like 7, 8, saw the Virgin Mary appear in the middle of a field. And till this day, the Pope, has agreed that the story is true. And the nun, because she went into a monastery, she died only a few years ago. So it's considered one of the holiest places in the Catholic universe. And it's so incredible you went there.
And the trip cost $600. This was back in 1970.
That's still expensive.
1978. It was $600.
$600.
So I saved up for like a year of this, and the reason the Catholic Church liked it is because of that 454. It was a recruitment to go into the priesthood. At least a dozen guys would cancel their return and join the priesthood.
And become priests.
And that was the first time I ever saw New York City on the layover. It was the first time I saw the ocean. I went to Europe.
How close were you to staying, Howard?
Well, that back then it was.
You would have made
Gino.
a great priest.
Do you remember Brother Gino?
No.
No, but anyway, he was a stigmata. He was there too.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was very, very fun. So I have the most romantic notions with.
Well, you've got to come back to Portugal because you do have a fan base there.
And I want to speak at your other meeting some year.
Yeah, we have the Senami meeting coming up in 17, 18, 19 of September this year in Europe. It'd be great to have you there, man.
I would love to. Any chance I could speak there, even just a little bit, or is
we have to prove it by the board,
okay.
But I'm sure there won't be a problem, Howard.
I want to switch totally different subject because I can totally sense on you. A lot of dentists couldn't lead 5 ducks to water. I mean, they don't. A lot of their stress. A ton of their stress.
That's because you got to become the water.
Is not a lot of their stress is not doing the dentistry. A lot of it's because they can't communicate and manage their hygienist, their assistant, their receptionist. Give him some skills on leadership, because you just seem like a natural born leader. How can these dentists out there be better leaders for their staff, their team?
80% of my stress, actually, let me correct that. 99% of my stress as a dentist is people. I have little or no stress with treatments, because the truth is that we factor that out in the first appointment. So if you know what you're doing and you have a good team with you, dentistry shouldn't be your main concern. Managing money is stressful. Patients not paying is stressful. We work with human beings, and I might sound like I'm very caring and stuff, but the truth is I'm tough as nails in the clinic. We have incredibly high standards, and I consulted with a few companies, kind of like yourself. I just for fun, and like for example in Norway. In Norway, everybody's very nice and polite to each other, and they have a lot of difficulty. How could I say this? Like, the owner of the clinic speaking to an assistant, they have to be very diplomatic, because you don't want to offend their feelings. Well, take no prisoners. That's my...
in America, we call those Canadians.
So, basically, look, I have to tell my staff, it's not easy. You really have to be a dick sometimes. It's just that simple. You can't be nice all the time. And, if you're always so polite and always so nice, I'm talking with your team. And having a dental team, the doctors and the assistants, the nurses and the reception, you guys are a tight-knit unit. And just like on a boat, and we started this conversation by saying there was only one captain. There's only one captain, and you can't have different opinions and different people. Has to be, this is how it's going to happen, and that's it. And if you don't like it, there's the door. And that's one of the rules of success. So I'm fortunate. I've never had partners. I have these colleagues, and I value their opinion. But at the end of the day, it's my way or the highway, and that's one of the reasons why I guess I've proven to be successful. But it's not easy, and if you don't have that capacity, then hire somebody who does. If you want to be the good cop, then hire a bad cop. If you're a bad cop, then hire a good cop.
That's well put. And I also don't understand the. I've never had a partner either. I mean, when you get married, you're with a woman, you have great sex, you have children, and that fails half the time. Now you're going to marry another dentist that you don't have sex with or children with? That's crazy.
Right.
So then I'm going to ask you another question. If you're the leader and you're the owner and these are employees, can an employee be your friend? Or if you get too close, can you make a friend deliver all your expectations,
I think,
or do you keep a certain boundary?
That's a great question. Listen, I try and be as nice as I can. Naturally polarized, closer to some people. I have a huge level of respect for everybody that I just mentioned, but we don't go around each other's houses on Sundays. We see enough of each other during the week, and I just think respect. There's a lot of respect. There's mutual respect. I don't have a contract with these guys, so they're staying with me after all these years for something. Some have left. Some haven't dealt with the stress. Some haven't. It's not always been a bed of roses. But the truth is, we have a massive responsibility with our patients. And if you wanna mess around on my turf in my clinic, it's not going to work. It's not going to work.
And I'm just going to end on one deal. I've only got you 3 more minutes. What were you, of all the implant systems, we're at the Makeover Symposium. What do you like about the Makeover?
Well, several things. First, I like the people that work at Makeover. I'd like to say a big thank you to Mr. Carrie Lyons. He's from the Integrated Dental Systems in America, represents Makeover, and he's the reason why I'm actually here in the U.S. And to his team, because one of the main reasons I left my previous system was, I can't say everybody, but people for me are very important. And I don't know how they do it, but everybody at the Makeover system, everybody, they're just nice people. And I don't know if I don't know, but it's like they go to some training camp, like some 4 seasons training camp, and how to give better customer care. Second, in terms of the design of the implant, look, it's got the widest selection of platforms of any other implant on the planet. It's got It goes from 3, 3.5, 4, 4.5, 5, 5.5, 6, 6.5, 7, 7.5, and 8. All where these last 4 have the same diameter body, meaning it doesn't eat away the bone. Incredible primal stability. There's a lot of gadgets around the implant, like ISQ readers called the Mega ISQ. It has torque measures, the Mega Torque. And plus you've got the Eureka R2 gate system, which is the fully guided implant system. And if you get to meet the actual Korean people behind the system, that's designing it, I mean, these guys are geniuses. And I just wanted to say that I gave a lecture yesterday where one of the main things I said was change. You have to be open to change. And somewhere in the Middle East, somebody said to me, yeah, but how do I tell my patient that I'm placing a Korean implant in his mouth? He's not going to accept that, because the prestige, as we discussed earlier, is in a Swedish implant or in a German implant or in a Swiss implant or an American implant. And I say, well, you know what? Don't think, with no disrespect to car manufacturers, but don't think Korean cars, think Korean Samsung, some of the best technology in the world. So having said that, I just want to thank everybody at this event, once again, for Sean Matthews, Dr. Kwan Boon Park, and most of all, Carrie Lyons, for just being an incredible host, throwing what I believe is going to be an incredible party tonight. Howard, I've been following your work. I'd also like to thank our good friend from Canada, who runs Nexus, the Facebook page.
Ken Sirota.
A big shout out to you, Ken Sirota, for giving me all this love for such a long time. I promise you I'll give you some content very soon. Howie, thank you, man. You're an inspiration.
Thank you so much for
I hope to see you again soon. And thank you, everybody. And don't give up the dream of making the world a better place through their smiles.